Oh, that was so good. Like, most of that series was great. There was a lull in the middle of the 8 episodes where there was like 3 episodes where it was like there wasn't any progress. It was like Mandalorian went on a mission, did the mission was over, then he went on to another mission. But like, overall, the show was fantastic, and especially with this last episode, like the past 2 episodes were great, and like the first like 1 or 2 were awesome. So overall, just a wow, what a show. And I'm not really, I was never really, I liked Boba Fett as a character. I wasn't really that into him though, or the Mandalorians in general. And I've read, a lot of the what's considered legends now about the Mandalorians, and it was good, but I wasn't really drawn to it. But this the show Mandalorian just kind of drew me to the mythos of the Mandalorians, and it was just the characters you really liked and you were interested in. The action was great. It was able to pay homage to the past Star Wars movies, but like without revering it so much that it just became a chore to do. You could have easily never watched any Star Wars movie, show, musical, whatever, and I think have enjoyed the show because of just the human qualities of it, the qualities that a lot of us, I think, can relate to about taking care of well, at least I hope that that we can relate to taking care of something or someone vulnerable, fighting the good fight, dealing with your principles, dealing with certain conflicts you have with your job, even though we're not bounty hunters. So dealing with those moral issues, I think the show did that really well. Pedro Pascal, I loved him in Game of Thrones, and he was really good in Narcos. And so just the way that he moved with his body, you couldn't see his face, but and maybe it's just projection, but you kind of had an idea of what he was going through his voice and then through his body. And then at the in the last episode, you actually saw his face, and it was a good reveal. You got a little bit of him, but not so much, and then it just leaves you wanting more, and I would be remiss if I didn't mention the child, which is affectionately known as Baby Yoda, even though Yoda is the name of someone. That's what that's the first thing I thought when I saw the character, and then I realized all over the internet it's being called Baby Yoda, but it's the child, and apparently it's part of the Foundlings, whatever that is. So it's interesting how for so long we've been wanting an origin story for at least Yoda and his species, and we seem to be getting that slowly, which is just really good storytelling. I know that in episode 1, George Lucas put in a character named Yaddle, who was on the Jedi Council. We never really heard from her. I don't even think she had any. Yeah, she didn't even have any lines. But it was a Yoda species. So it will be interesting to see who these species are, what they do. Obviously, they're very, very Force sensitive, and what this child grows up to be. Hopefully he grows up, because there's no mention of him in Rise of Skywalker, no mention of him in anything. So who knows? Maybe they're in a distant part of the galaxy, or maybe Yoda's creed or species or whatever doesn't get involved. Maybe Yoda fucked everything up when he during his actions of the Clone Wars. I don't know, but it's and I really hope, just after the debacle of Rise of Skywalker, it better not be a fucking Yoda clone. I will lose my shit, and I don't think so. I don't think Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni are that lazy when it comes to storytelling, but it's just been just the writing, the character development, the direction. It's just, Mandalorian has been really good, and things are starting to shift now where, for something to be great, it doesn't necessarily have to be in the movies. when a movie is released, though, you would want the stakes to be higher, because, you know, people are paying so much to go see, and, you know, they're going out, and they're just, you know, it seems like it was a big deal, but maybe it's not as big a deal anymore to go to the movies. But what Disney Plus at least is doing with The Mandalorian, even though this is a prequel, you don't really know these characters. You don't know what's going to happen to any of these characters. So the stakes are raised with this. And I know I was talking to a friend of mine, and he was saying, oh, well, maybe they'll bring Boba Fett back in this, and I hope they don't bring Boba Fett back. Like, enough of this, you know, rebooting and rehashing things. It's done. Let's just focus on something new, which is what The Last Jedi tried to do, but then Rise of Skywalker just brought it back in with the old again. So, again, it's a great balance between homage and just worship, you know. So I really enjoy the balance that The Mandalorian is bringing. So oh my god, I'm tired. It's like 2:15, and I worked a long day, but it was good, and the artwork during the credits is just so good. So I wonder if that's being sold anywhere. I like the introduction of Moff Gideon. Giancarlo Esposito is just an incredible actor, just from his stint in. I remember him in Do the Right Thing, and to see him in Breaking Bad, and he's playing similar, I guess, in mood to Gus Fring, but maybe a little more animated than Gus Fring was. So I kind of figured he wouldn't die. The fight between the Mandalorian and him with the TIE fighter was really well done. And what Moff Gideon did at the end of this episode was, I guess he has the Darksaber, which was alluded to during Star Wars, I'm getting confused, but Star Wars Rebels, and that, I believe, is Mandalorian in origin, so it will be cool to see where Moff Gideon goes, and you know, there's no mention of Moff Gideon, so where he ends up, you know, because this is right after Return of the Jedi. There's going to be the New Republic government is formed now, so you know, we'll see where that goes. We'll see how the New Republic governs in between, you know, The Mandalorian and The Force Awakens, when, you know, the New Republic was destroyed by yet another super weapon. This is what I talk about with bringing back the old, just for the old time's sake. And I really liked The Force Awakens. I understood the purpose of it. Didn't understand the purpose for Rise of Skywalker, but that's a different review. So, but just really, really well done. And thank you, Jon Favreau. Thank you, Dave Filoni. And may there be many more great Disney Plus Star Wars series. I'm really hoping for a Jedi one that really goes into the philosophy of the Jedi. Maybe that will be the Rian Johnson one, if that's going to move forward. And then as well as the Obi-Wan series, which I believe Deborah Chow, who directed a bunch of great episodes, or maybe just one episode. I think she directed more than one, but of The Mandalorian. So I think this is going to be in good hands, and we'll see what the future brings. So if you'd like to see and hear what this podcast brings, please, you can contact me on Twitter at MMAM Podcast. You can find me on Facebook at MMAM Podcast. You can email me at MMAMpodcast@gmail.com. And I think that's it. I think that's all the ways to contact me. Cool. So, other than that, may the Force be with you. It is the way. I have spoken. Meh.